Hey guys, welcome to the channel. It is Jay. It is great to see you again, and I wanted to bring you both a Crafty Stamp Co. Crafty Crew Kit video, just to give you some more inspiration with our fun little crafty mice, as well as the bubble wheel stencil. And I thought it would be great to couple that with my craft roulette card this week because I think these things actually line up really well, even though, if you remember from our first outing, we did a very different color palette. We did this little pink card. Anyway, so let me show you what I'm thinking. The card type this week was a slim line, so I wound up using one of my favorite ways to do a mini slim, which is actually based on a Call Me Crafty L sheet load. Basically, this is 11 by 3.5, but then you score it at 6.25. So you have not a full slim line, but you can get two of them out of one sheet of cardstock, so it's quite economical. The other two elements that go into this are a sentiment strip and, of course, a piece. So that basically you can float this off, which gives you some really neat possibilities. We will definitely be stamping this momentarily. But before we get started, I thought what we should do work on some pattern paper because this particular card needs something that's 3 by 6, and I also did not have any actual doilies. So my thought is that we can make our own sort of faux doily. And if I position this right in the stamp wheel, we should be able to do um, sort of two passes with the bubble wheel stencil. That looks about
I
even
think
to
we can
me.
just like lay this in the middle and then we can sort of let the we may just do the whole stencil. Let's try that and see how we like it. If not, we can always do another one where we don't do that. And I'm going to use the stamp wheel in a way I almost never do, which is to do a stencil. So I'm just going to grab a really big blending brush and pick up some ink. This is Catherine Pooler apricot, which is a pretty earthy brown, but a lighter brown, and that's what I was really wanting to go for here. To me, the lumberjack colors um, are really earth tones, and I think why don't we just do the whole stencil? I think that will give us more of a doily look. So I'm trying to apply a little more ink on the edges than in the center, just because I kind of like that as an idea, to just have it sort of blend out. And I did start with some cardstock, which is definitely slightly off white. I forget whose cardstock it is, but then I'm just going back over this just to kind of blend this out a little bit. And I think this is going to make a really fun doily themed pattern piece for the background of our cards. So let's just. And the nice thing about the stamp wheel is it does hold this down. There's theoretically a correct and incorrect side of these to use, but I never really remember unless I wind up peeling part of my stencil off. But if you wind up doing that, it doesn't actually hurt the stencil at all. Well, I should say it doesn't hurt the use of the stencil. It can sometimes make it look a little bit gnarly, but I think this is a really cool doily background. And if I get my stamp wheel out of the way momentarily, we will need it later to do our sentiment, but let's take a look at how this looks. I'm just going to pop up in the bottom corner my actual coloring of this mouse, but I think this is going to work out really well. As you probably or maybe as you probably remember from earlier, this mouse actually has a paintbrush, but I thought I would cut it off just to make more of a blending brush out of it, to make it more of like a crafty bucket and have our little crafty mouse. And what we're basically going to do is I'm going to slightly trim the edge here, but we're going to cut in an inch and a half and then have our two pieces of patterned paper. And then while we're here, we can just sort of mat this out. I'm going to put the mouse on top, but then the sentiment will float kind of like this. So I think that's going to be, so what we'll probably do is sort of float our sentiment like this. and put our mouse here. We may or may not decide to pop our mouse up, but so basically the finished card will
I'm
kind of
just
look
gonna
like that.
get some of the extra ink off, but I'm just going to just come in a little bit here, just to kind of dar darken this up a little bit. I am going to glue down this piece first because there's a little more wiggle room with the sediment. And I'm just going to use some double-sided tape, although if you feel more comfortable with wet glue, this is definitely a time where wet glue might help you out. I'm just going to sort of balance my borders here and put it down. And see, this will close almost identically there. And then we just need to get our place to put our greeting slash people have been calling them personal messages, which I kind of don't understand because I don't know like what other kinds of like I don't know how you could put like an impersonal message in a card. But it is a term that I've heard used lately. So I will call this the place that you could write stuff. And as you can see, that gets covered up, which is exactly as designed here. And then we just need to get our other piece of our background together. And let me know how you feel about the little speed coloring thing that we did in this video. I thought it would be a good way to sort of show people how I color who are interested in that, but not make it like, three-quarters of the video. Not that there's anything wrong with that. The other thought I had on that was that could always make the coloring portion of things just sort of a extra, essentially, insofar as we could just have it as sort of a standalone video on the channel if a bunch of folks are interested. So let me know. I'm curious. Just going to put some more double-sided tape on the back here. And actually, I think may have put that on the wrong side, but we'll see. If not, you can always kind of rub it off, but I just want this to have sort of a nice drop shadow. And yeah, I got a little bit where I don't really need it, but because it'll be on the card. Oh, I love that color palette. That is coming together great. So now we have to be careful with our adhesive because we don't want to get adhesive on the side of the sentiment that's going to be a little free floating. So I like this one. It's kind of lower down. That makes sense. And then I want my little mouse guy here, which I think will really be cute. We are going to probably want to pop him up on some foam. So let me see. I think I probably have some of these little hex doodads that are really nice for this because I can basically just put one under the sides of the mouse that are going to be not attached here, and then we can just use a little glue here. So we can basically do this like that, or like that. I kind of like it a little bit lower. I feel like if it's lower, he feels a little more grounded. So I'm going to get rid of my release paper, and we could continue. Actually, we will, because why not? We could continue with dry adhesive here. You could also use a little bit of wet adhesive on top of all of the dry adhesive because that would give you a little more wiggle room. So let's just get our little mouse here and just push down. And we've made a totally different card using the same stamp set. I guess we should run through our craft roulette parameters. It's most definitely a slim line. And it has lumberjack colors. We have some nice, leather boot kind of colors. We also have some stone, some trees, blue sky or blue jeans, all that kind of stuff. Um, we have our caps on our markers, and we have our faux doily background. So I think we're doing pretty well. Um, Speaking of this particular stamp set, this is part of the March Crafty Crew, and it is available for pre-order until the 15th. There is a link down below if that is the thing that interests you. There will be also some inspiration coming out next week, which will use the other stamp set, which are the Crafty Kids. So stay tuned for that as well. Anyway, great to talk to you guys. If you have any thoughts or comments, feel free to leave them below and have a great rest of your day.